If you guys saw my first video in this teardown series, you know that I broke 6 bolts, taking just the top end off of this engine. I broke 2 exhaust bolts, 2 water pump bolts, and I broke 2 bolts up here, taking the intake off. Howdy folks, Ed here. Welcome back to Bullnose Garage. And if you saw the short that I posted on YouTube just after all that happened, you know that I asked the internet for help. Suggestions are welcome. Against my better judgment. And boy, did I get some response. I got everything from heat, more heat, heat cycles, use a torch, use a welder, use a hammer, use candle wax, use crayons, freeze off, penetrant, more penetrant. Basically, you guys told me to throw the entire periodic table at this engine. And others of you told me that I should throw the engine in a river somewhere and never speak of it again. Yeah, we're not doing that. So that means today I am going back at it to try to get these bolts out using all the information that I gathered from the responses from you guys, and we're gonna see what happens. These bolts will be out of this head. Now, whether or not the head is usable again, we'll see. Stick around. If you've torn down old crusty engines before, pretty good chance you've snapped a bolt. Now here's the truth. Let's look at where they are. They're on the heads and the timing cover. None of those are parts that I need for this build. I'm not gonna keep any of that. I'm gonna probably, if I can, sell the heads and just toss the timing cover. So I don't need to take these bolts out. But I do not have years of extensive experience tearing down engines. And this is a perfect opportunity for me to learn how to do some of the more difficult parts of engine work on parts that I just don't give a shit about. So that's why I'm gonna take this opportunity to teach myself how to get these bolts out, and hopefully you guys can learn along with me if you've ever been in a situation like this, or you can laugh at me because you've already done this before a million times and you know exactly what I'm doing wrong. But this is a very interesting situation because of these 6 bolts, 4 of them are in cast iron, 2 of which have a lot of meat on the thread still, and 2 of which are broken off almost right flush with the head. And then the last 2 up here are in aluminum. So those are our 2 exhaust bolts. Here are the 2 water pump bolts. And here is the better of the 2 top intake bolts. And here is the really scary one. The first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to do this, if I can, without having to weld these front 2. I'm almost positive I'm gonna have to weld the other ones, but these I'm gonna try to do without welding. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind a couple of flats onto these bolts and see if I can't get some heat on here and use a good strong pair of vice grips with some penetrating oil and wriggle them loose. Get these on here about as tight as my fingers can stand. Okay. Now I'm heating up the timing cover because it's aluminum. The aluminum will expand faster than the steel of the bolt. So hopefully with the heat in here, I'll be able to rock that bolt free. Let's see if we can wiggle it free. Oh, I'm getting some movement. Yeah, I'm getting some movement. It's actual movement, it's not just... All right. Let's come around to where I can get some more movement on it, and we'll hit it again. That's just gasket material, stinks like hell, but it's not hurting anything. Yeah, it's turning. It's rough, but it's turning. And part of the trick is to wiggle back and forth. If you just keep going the same direction, then you're gonna bind it up and have another chance of snapping it. think I'm gonna be able to get this out. Seems like, yeah, it's starting to get squishy on me. Oh yeah, see, that makes a big difference. It's starting to cool off on me. Oh man, that puppy was caught in there. But we got it. The trick is heating, cooling cycles, and a lot of penetrating oil. Yep, there it goes. See, the interior threads on these are so messed up that at some point it's not even unthreading. I'm just like wiggling it straight out. I gotta pull out and turn to get it to move. And there you go. Checking my camera, make sure you can see this crusty son of a bitch. Yeah, look at that thing. Yeah, I could try the same thing over here. And honestly, this bolt right here is already pretty well munged up. So I think I might try it. Because if I screw it up, I can still weld a nut onto the end. Yeah, so let's give that the old college try. That helps suck the penetrating oil up into the grooves. And then we'll get this puppy on there and see if we can get it to move. All right, move for me, come on. Is it moving? It feels like it might be. Nope. I'm just twisting the end, aren't I? I don't see any movement at the head. Yeah, no, I'm just twisting the end. Yep, I'm just twisting it right there. I can see exactly where. You know what? Yeah, because that just popped right off. That was worth the experiment for me. I still got plenty of meat here. All right. So this exhaust bolt really refused to cooperate. And this is where things started going sideways. Oh no, I didn't get a good weld on there. What I'm trying to do here is weld a nut onto the broken stud and back it out. In theory, that gives me a fresh surface to grab, plus a bunch of heat right where I need it. In practice, yeah, not so much. Damn. Yeah, I'm not getting a good weld on there. I'm pretty sure what's happening is the steel stud is basically bonded to the cast iron head at this point, and cast iron is really good at pulling heat away. So instead of the weld puddle flowing down into the stud and really fusing, most of that heat is just getting sucked out into the head. Hold on there, guy. That looks good. This is so janky. All right. Oh my goodness, are you joking? Am I just that bad of a welder? Maybe I am. The nut looks welded, but the stud itself isn't actually becoming part of the weld. This is why you see me start using a torch to preheat the stud. Hot enough to hopefully give me a little bit better fusion this time. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not an experienced welder. I didn't want to just crank the voltage and start blasting because I didn't want to make things worse or damage the head even more. So what you're seeing here is me trying to walk that line between getting enough heat and not going full gorilla on it. Nope. Man, this is frustrating. And at this point in the video, this is before I asked the internet for advice. So no wax, no crayons, no freeze spray, no exotic tricks yet. This is just me, a welder, a torch, penetrating oil, and a whole lot of stubbornness. And yeah, this bolt is not impressed.
Breaking bolts on the half-ton. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. Used oil and a torch and a heat gun. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. Welded a nut and it broke off. Guess the nut is done. Hope this engine's not a write-off. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. I fought the bolt and the should be spending time with a loved one. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. But now it feels like that head spun. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. Welded a nut and it broke off. Guess that nut is done. Hope this engine's not a write-off. I fought the bolt and the bolt won. I fought the bolt and the I fought the bolt and the bolt won. 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 I fought the bolt and the
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to come back to this one. I'm running out of camera time. You know, one time a really good friend of mine said, Ed, with all of your extensive experience tearing down engines, what is your absolute favorite part of doing an engine teardown on a 30-year-old crusty Ford engine? And you know what I said? I said, my friend, easily my favorite part of doing an engine teardown is all of the broken bolts. I love that part. Yeah, everything that I just said is completely not true. I don't have any friends. Hello. All right, guys, round 2 with the bolts from hell. I've been waiting to do this for like 3 weeks. All right, so the very first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna whack this a few times with a hammer, try to get some shock into here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and pull on it and see if it comes loose. This thing has been sitting here cold for about 3 weeks after I welded this nut on. I've added just a little bit of penetrant over the course of that time, on and off a few days. So it has had plenty of time to sit. We're gonna see if any of that made any difference. And I'm just gonna whack it with a hammer, and that'll be test number 1. So let's see if that did anything. Well, it rounded it so I couldn't get the socket on. That's what it did. There we go. Okay, I'm not feeling any movement here. Yeah, I'm not feeling anything. And there's a little bit of sponginess right up there on the top, so I'm thinking that didn't do it. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna warm it up and throw some freeze off on it and see if that takes care of it. And for you guys that were yelling about the torch in my short, this is actually a MAP gas torch. MAPP gas. It's not the old school stuff. I'm not gonna go so far as oxyacetylene. All right, so the idea here is that you get it super hot and then you hit it with some freeze off to try to thermal cycle it. And there's also penetrating fluid inside the freeze off, so we'll see if it happens. Now, a lot of folks said to try to tighten it first and then loosen it, so I'm gonna do it that way. Yeah, I'm not getting anything on the tightening. I'm getting just a little bit of sponginess here. Now, it's entirely possible that I have already sponged this bolt to the point where it's not gonna come out, but yeah, there's no movement whatsoever. Okay, well that didn't work on this particular bolt. So now supposedly candle wax down inside the threads here is supposed to get in here and lubricate. I'm not sure how much wax I'm supposed to use, but there is certainly quite a bit of wax down in there. You can see how much came off the candle. So I don't want to gunk it up too much. The guys didn't say that either way. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and let that cool for a little bit. Now, you know what though? Maybe what I'll do, I'll try it while it's warm and then I'll let it cool and try it again. That way I try both ways. I'm trying to use patience here to work it back and forth. That was another thing that a lot of guys said was just be patient. And work it back and forth as much as you can. Tighten, then loosen, then tighten, then loosen. But I'm really not feeling any movement other than just a little bit of sponginess that I'm getting. You can see how quickly, even with that torch, how quickly this cast iron just completely pulls the heat out of whatever you've got here. So it cools off really fast. The next thing that I'm going to try is a crayon, but in this case, I'm going to heat the bolt instead of heating the heads. That way, maybe the crayon will wick down. And I'm going to go with red, the color of despair and anger. Didn't take very much. It melted pretty quick. Let that cool and see what happens. In the meantime, I'm gonna start thinking about this one. I'm gonna get that started on there so that I can get it welded on there nice and tight. So one thing that I learned when welding this one last time was that you wanna heat this up you wanna preheat this with a torch before you start to weld it, because this cast iron pulls heat away from this stud so fast that it's hard to get a good solid weld inside of here. So if you heat it up first and then quickly hit it with the welder, it's sort of preheated and that'll give you a little bit better adhesion. It seems that way. Not a good welder. And while we're nice and hot, and finally, giving this one everything I got. Okay, this one's cooled off. The crayon should be good and down in there, so we're gonna give this one a try. Yeah, see the top is moving, but the bottom is not, and I can actually see where the shear is happening. I think we're gonna break that one. Let's try this one. I can see where the shear is happening, and this one it's not. It's right here. It's well below where my weld is, so my weld is good even if it's ugly. So here's what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna do one more heat cycle on each of these, and I'm gonna hit them with candle wax again. And I'm thinking that maybe the crayon down in here and the candle wax on top, maybe if I heat them up, the crayon will go down further. Guys, I really don't know. I just wanna give these every shot. I'm trying to do this, you know, if it wasn't for YouTube and the fact that I'm trying to do this for content, trying to teach myself how this stuff works, I would have broken these off a long time ago. But I'm really trying to find a good way to show you guys how to get these out. Something that works. I'm gonna cool those down. I'm trying to get their strength back after being warmed up. I'm gonna come back and wrench on them one last time. When I come back, these will either come out of the engine, they're gonna snap, and we're gonna see. Okay, here we go. See, it's starting to shear right in here. These bolts may just not come out this way. There's only so much patience that I'm willing to expend on getting these out of here. Oh, it looks like we might have some movement here, as a matter of fact. Okay. Let's not go too fast here. We'll bring it back just a little bit. Well, look at that, boys and girls. I will be damned. I was being so careful not to break it off that I didn't want to put too much force into it, but that little bit of extra force is what got it out. Look at that thing. Just ignore my awful welding job. Yeah, man. All right, well, that one's out. There we go. I might save that son of a bitch. The one that I just took out, I've only been fighting today. This one I've been fighting for weeks. And we're gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna start twisting. Even though I feel like it's gonna break, I'm just gonna keep going. All right, same deal, slow, even pressure, and we're just gonna keep moving even if it feels like it's gonna break. Tighten and loosen, back and forth a little bit. Oh yeah, that's gonna break, no question. Yep, right there. All right, like I said, I've been fighting this one for a week. I'm not sure there's enough on there to weld a nut onto. And I'm gonna go ahead and try to build up a little bit of a weld on here and then do one more nut and see if I can get this out of here. See, it's moving, but I don't think it's moving the stud. Nah, that was my weld that snapped off. Nope. So what that means is that now it's time to grind this flush, punch it, and drill it. Never done this before either. Wish me luck. Obviously, you want to try to center this as much as possible. This is why machine shops get paid good money to do this kind of stuff. But if I paid a machine shop to do this, I wouldn't learn nothing. And that'll give me a nice spot to start my drilling. And so what I've got here is a relatively cheap reverse drill bit from Harbor Freight. Obviously, I'm gonna try to do the best job that I can, go straight on as much as possible. And I'm gonna start with a smaller bit first, and then walk my way up in sizes until I get to something that's gonna actually potentially extract this thing out of here. So slow and steady is how I'm gonna try to approach this. Well, that didn't last very long, did it? Wow. Well, that's I'd say that's a pretty damning review of Harbor Freight's reverse drill bits, guys. Didn't even last 1 second. I get what I get, I guess. I may have been pushing too hard. They are cutting pretty well, so maybe I was just pushing too hard. Where's the bottom? There. Pretty close. Oh, okay, yep, I'm down to the bottom. I'm not sure how big I can realistically go here without damaging. Ooh. What happened there? Hopefully when I screw up, you won't. So I screwed up drilling out this bolt because I went too deep and now I'm in one of the water jackets. Let me show you what I mean. Flashlight, right down there into water jacket hole. And here you can clearly see the light coming in through the hole that I just made in this head. So yes, this head is trash. Luckily, it's a truck head, and it doesn't really matter to me. I found this experience much more valuable as a lesson than actually the value of whatever this head is. I knew going in that I could screw something up like this. I'm still gonna pull it off, take a look at it, and go through how it works and all that stuff later. But I just drilled too deep and busted right through into the water jacket. Man, it's close. There's not a whole lot of give on the bottom of those exhaust bolt holes before you get into a cavity in there. There we go. That's why I'm doing this, to learn. If I cared about the heads, to be honest with you guys, if I cared about the heads, I would take them to a machine shop and the machine shop too. I am going to continue by getting the bolts out of the intake holes in the front of the engine that I also broke. And we're just going to go at those and see what I can do. Because again, those are an opportunity to learn something. So it's an opportunity, not a pain in the ass. My plan is to weld some build up on top of each of these studs, and we'll try again with some new nuts and see if I can get them out of there. We'll use the freeze off crayon wax stuff just like before. See if they'll move. These go all the way through. So there's actually an opening on the bottom of these heads, so I can't make the same mistake that I made before and drill too deep. The only thing that I can do is drill off to the side, off center, and screw the holes up. So these should be a little bit easier, even if I end up drilling them out. One way or the other, these bolts are coming out of here on camera today. My weld didn't stick. It is turning. There's a lot of crud in there. Forget how hot things are. Damn it. Oh man, it gets right there and then dies. I got this much wiggle room and that's it. Am I gonna break it or am I gonna cut? Gotcha. All right, there's one down. Nope. Woo! Well, it makes it easier to drill. All right, guys, there you go. 6 bolts stuck, 6 bolts successfully removed, and only 1 head completely destroyed. What do I want to say here, guys? I'm doing this way so that I learn what I'm doing, because learning about it in a book or seeing a video on YouTube personally doesn't help me that much. But I am hoping that doing this for you guys will help you a little bit. If you want to save your heads, then maybe you can avoid the same mistakes that I've made and do a better job when you do your teardown. These heads are coming off, going in the garbage now, and I'll replace them with some nice aftermarket aluminum heads for my stroker build. But the bottom line is we did get all the bolts out, and I only made 1 truly horrible mistake out of 6 broken bolts. So in my book, because this is the very first time that I've ever done this before, that's kind of a win. Now, I don't know if the wax or the crayons, I don't know what I did to get the few out that I got out successfully, but I do know that stuff didn't hurt. And a box of crayons is like $1. So maybe you can go to the store and get yourself a box of crayons if you're gonna be tackling an engine like this. Also, I learned that heat is important. As a lot of you guys told me, heat absolutely is. Obviously, the next part is taking the heads off. So we will be doing that in the next video. If you guys want to see that and stick around for this entire build series, make sure that you subscribe because I'll be doing this whole thing for the first time ever. Basically, I mean, not live, but I don't edit much of this out other than the boring parts. So yeah, if you're up for seeing that stuff, make sure you subscribe and you'll see more of me screwing up. Undoubtedly. Thanks again so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, internet ramblings, stick it below, and we will see you next time. Hey, guys. If you want to dig deeper into the builds, the side projects, and the stuff that doesn't always make it onto YouTube, or even just want to get to know me a little bit better, come hang out on patreon.com/bullnosegarage. Helps keep the lights on, beer fridge full, and the builds funded. Appreciate you guys being part of the garage.
She's rough around the edges, but she's doing fine. Tinkering away, getting things to shine. That Bullnose garage, she's considered divine.